Welcome to another episode of Navigating Growth, where we showcase companies that are doing new and unique things. My name is Sal Imami from Better Call Sal, and co-hosting with me is Kevin Hooper from Hanging with Mr. Hooper. Today, I want to talk about something you may not have thought about in a while, your water heater, which seems to break down in the most inopportune time. Let's face it, most people don't even think about maintenance of their water heater until it's too late. It's an inconvenience to your typical homeowner, but what about a multi-unit building? The water heater goes out, it affects everyone in that building. So I'm happy to introduce a company that is on a mission to fix this. Our guest today is Gordon Olson, the co-founder of Torii Industries. Gordon, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Sal and Kevin.
So let's start off by telling us, what is Torii Industries?
Essentially, you gave a pretty good explanation of a little bit of the problem that we are solving. And Torii Industries is just hot water as a service. So just as you said, you can think of your traditional water heater that's going to break and then you're going to have to replace it. What we're doing is we're connecting IoT, running that through artificial algorithms to predict the failure of the unit. So we can predict out between a week out of when a unit will fail. And we simply schedule up a plumber to come and replace that unit, fix the unit, whatever needs done, all ahead of time before the unit actually goes out. And seeing how it's on as a service, what that acts as is it's already paid for. So there is no extra cost. You've already paid your monthly due, and it doesn't cost any extra.
That's a mind-blowing concept to those of us that have had the misfortune of going down into our basements and finding an inch and a half of water, or alternatively getting up and having to take a shower to get ready for a wedding. Not that I am sharing any personal experiences here, Gordon. So share with us a little, if you will, what was the origin of this idea? How did you come up with this?
It was from replacing multiple water heaters myself. So I'm only 28 years old, and in my lifetime, I've helped replace around 4 water heaters that have, went out and then had to replace them. And so that, including with, living in different apartment complexes and, just seeing the water heaters. And what really got me was the curiosity of why all water heaters weren't just on demand. And I was like, boy, I love taking hot showers. I could just soak in them. Why do we have these huge, massive tanks everywhere? So that just got me curious, as always. And I found the industry really fascinating. And as the years grew, I went to some different industry events and so forth, and seeing that the industry wasn't really going anywhere, right? There wasn't new technology being added. There wasn't IoT much back then. Now, some now have it, but they're not really too smart still. And I seen that everything that was going on. I figured, hey, this is a great industry to transition into something else, to add to that is new.
You mentioned a couple of things in there. Figuring on demand is a concept, which going from, and I've had this personal experience going from a tank to a tankless heater, and the gyrations and changes over time of that technology. You're talking about IoT. So you have the idea, and then we get to today, you're talking to us on this video. Can you fill in the gap and tell us a little bit about the journey that you've been on from that, wake up in the middle of the night, kind of, I've got the idea, all the way through to where you are today?
Originally, it started out as more of just focusing on making a more high efficient tankless water heater, and what we could do to make that more efficient, faster, and smaller. So looking at the technology, we ended up licensing some technology from a national laboratory for that, and did a little bit of work. And then as we got more into the business model of what we're trying to accomplish and what technology is out there currently, then we have transitioned over to focusing on just heat pump water heaters, and then inserting all the IoT sensors that is needed for the prediction of failure. So we found out that there's a lot larger of an opportunity for the prediction of the failure than just focusing on like a tankless water heater, more efficient one itself. The model is, it's a newer model. It's not really heard of much, except for in parts of Canada. Me being in Montana, we're right close to Canada. And in Canada, there is a lot of places that more rent their water heater. So it's just billed right into with the utilities. And if it goes out, then it's simply replaced. They don't have no prediction of failure, so you still have the problem of it going out. But you don't have that high upfront cost when it does go out again.
You're well aware partnerships are a great way to accelerate growth in any business. And as you know, partnerships come in all shapes and sizes. Gordon, what type of partnerships have you engaged with, and what has worked with those partners and what hasn't?
Essentially, when you think of a water heater, there's a lot of different partnerships, right? From the plumbers to whether you're focusing on property management or apartment complexes that sell to the product itself, right? Of all the OEMs that we're working with. Essentially, what I have found is just going to them and sitting down and having just a good conversation with them and saying, hey, look, this is where we're at. This is where we want to go and where we want to be. If they like the idea and they're like, hey, this is great, we can actually see the value of it, then it makes partnerships so much easier. You don't have to work as hard for it when people see the value of something and what it will become.
One of the questions in these series of interviews that we like to ask is the hindsight question, the 2020 question. If you were able to go back in time to the point where you had the idea, but you had all of the experience, all of the learnings, all of the scars that you've developed as you've come forward, what would your advice be if you had to do it all over again? What would you do differently or better?
Two things. The first one is most people, they say, hey, form the company and get started, right? So I would have held off on actually forming the company a little bit longer, building out a deck, building things out more. And then the second part is building more of that dream team a lot sooner, finding those people that are specialists in every single item that is needed. Because one person can't do everything, and one person or two or three don't know all of it. Finding those people and building out that dream team and then being able to go from there help you to scale and move a lot faster, as well as having that industry knowledge for each kind of section that is needed that you might not know that they will know.
Just to sort of summarize what we've learned here today, first of all, the instantiation, the idea came from personal experience, from seeing a problem and experiencing a problem and saying, I think I can solve that. The second learning that I'm coming away from this with starts with thinking you can solve a problem with technology, but ultimately it transitions to really understanding what are the wants and needs of your user and what are the pain points that they're going to pay money for that may or may not be technological, but could be part of the business model, could be part of the experience, the totality of the experience that they have. And then lastly, the notion of partnerships, the notion of making sure that you have the right team and doing the right preparation to make what will ultimately be, and this is the other thing that is really, really impressive as we talk to founders like yourself, Gordon, is the grit that comes along with your desire to be successful, your desire to solve that problem. Make it easier on yourself by surrounding yourself with the right people, the right experts, and do your prep work, potentially before you take steps. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. Thank you for sharing your time. Sal, as always, thank you very much for being my partner on this journey. And for everybody else, thanks for listening. We look forward to seeing you in another episode of Navigating Growth.